And how big is currently Wingify like today?
We're bootstrapped, so
Yeah, yeah.
valuation is just in the air.
Yeah, yeah.
So we are about 350 people doing about $30 million of revenue, so around roughly 250 crores of revenue.
When did Wingify launch?
2010.
10.
My mom was hesitant for me to quit my job, and I told her that if I make the salary that I'm making, will you be happy? She said yes, and that became my goal.
Goal.
I earned 4 times that money in the first month itself.
Got it.
And in the second month it doubled, third month it doubled, and just kept
Wow.
on doubling. And I was just caught by surprise. That has led us to build this company without ever raising any funding. We've been profitable, and every year we've grown.
Now Wingify it's enough that you can buy probably any house that you wish for, any car that. So how's your lifestyle now? And you mentioned outside Wingify also you're financially independent, and
I think I own Octavia, Skoda Octavia, and I'm not into cars at all. I mean, I'm not into objects per se. I think the only indulgence I do is buying books without looking at the price. So that's the only indulgence I get into.
is money a good motivation?
I think if you are into an adverse situation, then it's a beautiful motivation to jump out of that adverse condition and change your life. I think it can be a great motivator. But if money is more or less sorted in your life, then I think it's not a great motivator. You'll not. I mean, you have to feel a strong pain to be able to put proportional amount of effort to cure that pain.
So do you think this fire movement, financial independence and retire early, is overhyped? I mean, are you aware of this moment?
Yeah, I am. This is like a big subreddit.
Yes.
Yeah. Financial independence is always good. So I'm very, very pro financial independence because I think it gives a lot of freedom. It lets you do what you want to do in the life.
Like in financial independence, saying I'll work till the age of 40 and then I'll do all the things I want, or all the
Yeah,
things.
that never happens. Saying that I'm okay with my 10 years, 20 years go to waste because after that I'll enjoy life. That to me is a little bit wrong-headed. Make your decisions in a way where you are looking at the entire life instead of compartmentalizing it, that this is my life for working my ass off and this is my work. But retirement, I think it never happens because I feel if you're driven enough to be financially independent, then I think you'll never be able to retire because you get addicted to work.
That's an interesting take.
You feel like you've retired, but once you spend 3 months doing nothing, I think humans are not made to do nothing. You'll end up doing something. But of course, if you're financially independent, then your projects can be non-commercial, can be just
Something
making music
more
or,
meaningful for yourself.
Yes.
The key thing to achieve financial independence quite early is spending really low amounts of money or living way below your means. How do you do that? For you, it seems to come very naturally.
But I also feel it's easy to make mistakes on the either side of the spectrum. Just like you can spend too much, I think you can spend too less also. Saving so aggressively that the best years in your life, you're sacrificing experiences. So a lot of people just keep on saving their entire lives, and by the time they turn 60, 70, their health is not at the peak. They have probably just sacrificed things they could have done in 20s and 30s if they were not saving so much. Why can't you maybe save a little less but have a lot of experiences while your health is great and you are with your friends and they have time? So taking the larger view of life instead of just making it about money.
Like, how do you know, like, whether you're spending too less or spending
I
spending
think
more?
if you have regrets, do you have regrets about letting go of experiences because you feel you are accumulating something for the future? I think if that's the case, maybe you're spending too less. But if you have regrets of overspending and getting into debt, then obviously you need to spend less.
That's very and you have very thoughtful answers and you have thought through these things. So how should you, let's say somebody who is 30-year-old who is thinking about money very seriously, of financial independence very seriously, not in a time bound fashion saying I want to retire in 5 years, but how should he go about it or she go about it?
I think before thinking about money, one should think about what do they want out of life. I mean, what are their values? What are their priorities? What are the kinds of things that make them happy? And prioritize life around it. And then money becomes a way to get those things. So if someone is who's 30 is thinking about money, I would say take a step back and look at what has given you most joy. Is it your friendships? Is it being healthy? And then try to optimize your life around how can you have those opportunities for creating these happiness moments,
Hmm.
and think what role money plays in those
Hmm.
moments. And I think more chances than not, money will play probably a less important role than one would imagine. The important nuance is financial independence. Also, people are driven from a fear of worst case scenario,
Ah, yes. That.
where people fear that some ruin will come to them, maybe some health emergency. I've thought about it, and I think optimizing for worst case scenario is probably not a good idea, because by definition you can't think of worst case scenarios. A health emergency comes, like a new pathogen comes with no cure, which happened with COVID. Even billionaires were not immune to it, right? Even billionaire families were impacted. So optimizing for that is completely foolish. What you should optimize for is the risks that are actually controllable,
Hmm.
and insuring against them is actually cheaper than what most people think. So I think financial more than important than financial independence is having a control on your happiness, being able to do what makes you happy. And likely, like sitting in home entire day doing nothing probably won't make you happy. I mean, I think a lot of drive to be financially independent actually comes from people hating their jobs,
Yes, that's absolutely.
which means all you need is to get a better job instead of maybe trying to get
And that may
financially
pay.
independent.
And that may pay
And lots
less.
of that may pay less, and there's lots of jobs where you could be happier, more satisfied, maybe paying less, but who cares if you are happier there? If ultimately you want happiness and money is a way to get happiness, why not short circuit that and get happiness directly?
Hmm. I think bad job is definitely one of the reasons, because people just want to get out, and you think if they had enough money, they would get out today,
Yeah.
and do nothing. But
But when they get out probably into another bad job that pays them higher. In that sense, people end up valuing money much more than their time. Like, what is the worth of one day of happiness for you?
hmm.
I don't think we end up giving it as much importance as maybe you got a 30% raise.
Hmm.
It's just strange.
Is it because it is not quantifiable?
It's often less brag-worthy than professional success.
Do you think if there were devices, let's say now smart, like very advanced smartwatches, which should measure happiness levels, and people could brag about it, then people would care more about personal happiness, personal success?
I think whatever you glorify in society and
Hmm.
culture,
Hmm.
you'll
And
start caring more about it. In our culture and society, we end up glorifying professional success. And because it's the best interest of the society, right? They care that you're more productive.
hmm.
That's how society gets more things done for
Done.
itself.
Yeah.
And you end up believing that whatever is in the best interest of society is in best interest of you as well. But that's not true.
Yeah. One more question I see is like, whenever I've spoken to people who have gained financial independence, they have kind of this wisdom or kind of this enlightenment saying personal success is very important, relationship. But people who don't have financial independence, they kind of keep on like underestimating that.
Yeah.
How do you?
I know. I mean, I sometimes on Twitter when I say money after a certain point doesn't make you happy, and then people say, "Oh, just because you've made money, you're saying that."
Yeah.
And I was like, precisely the point, right? People who have something. I mean, if you've bought a TV, you're in a good position to review that TV versus someone who's never bought it. So
Hmm.
precisely, if people have made money, only they can comment on how does money change them or not change them.
Yeah, and I remember you either in one of your interviews or in one of your blogs you talked about dying with zero
Yeah.
balance, right? What is it? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I want to live my life so that by the time comes to my own death, my bank balance should tend to zero.
Hmm.
So there is no point in dying with money in the bank. Just like it's just counterintuitive. Like I said, money is about helping you give purchasing power on the future.
Hmm.
And on your deathbed, if you have money lying, it just means you've not done a good job of allocating how money should have been earned and spent.
Got it.
Probably worked harder than you should have.
Got it. One question, like, do you have kids? Do you plan
No,
to have kids?
no. Yep.
Just a personal curiosity, why did you decide to? I mean, if you are not comfortable, you can choose not to answer it and we can move on.
Never felt a strong urge
Hmm.
towards it, and frankly I think it's a women and mothers takes much bigger load. I think 95% of
Absolutely.
load being a mother is I think men have it easy, and sometimes parents say that, like, when you're old,
Hmm.
who will take care of it? And I have always thought that's a lousy reason to have kids. I mean, have kids because you want to have kids,
Hmm.
not as an investment into future.
Hmm.
Like all investments, who knows how that turns out,
Hmm.
I know so many people who don't take care of their parents when they're old, and just doing that for because you're old
Yeah, I think it's
doesn't
one of
make
the
sense.
major reason. Like people think that their kids will take care of them when
But if you
they.
look around, that's not happening. And kids are their own individual people. They want to live their own life, and just thinking that as you will be old, somehow you'll oblige another person to take care of you,
Hmm.
that doesn't strike to me as something very logical.
Got it. I remember seeing in one of the podcasts, I was just listening, coming, saying you have a very simple investing philosophy, index fund, and like, can you briefly summarize it? Like, and how did you come to? And I would like to deep dive on how did you come to think about it? And
Research any academic paper
hmm.
you take, you know that index funds, it's impossible to beat index funds. So a
Hmm.
lot of these managed funds, mutual funds, over a long period of time, they don't end up beating the index
Hmm.
funds. I mean, I think I would give this challenge to a lot of your listeners,
Hmm.
that they should see their past IRRs
Hmm.
and chart it against an index fund return and
Hmm.
see if they've beaten it.
Got it.
If they've not beaten it, why put effort into doing all this what they're doing?
I think they take wrong examples. They pick some examples where people have beaten index.
You'll always have people who've beaten the index.
Hmm.
Important question is not that whether people have beaten the index. The important question is, can you replicate their performance
Yeah, and was it done because of luck or because of
because
skill?
of some logic, because of some skill? And first principle says there can't be a skill. You can't keep on beating the index, right?
What are the things that you would otherwise not do and do now?
The freedom to say no to things that I don't want to,
Hmm.
and also to be able to take long breaks from work
Hmm.
if I want to. I had taken a sabbatical from Wingify, like multiple sabbaticals, in fact, and I'd read a lot of physics.
Hmm.
I'm able to do things I like to without explaining anyone. Time freedom for me is what's become very, very important.
Hmm. Like couple of things my team tells me is like you have a tattoo of a watch and you
Yeah.
don't have any watch in the house.
Yeah.
What is that?
This tattoo I got recently. It's actually a mix of two things. It's one is painting by Salvador Dali. He's a surrealist painter. Painting is called Persistence of Memory, and the other one is a man walking on like a tightrope. Really about how absurd time is. Keeps on flowing. You have to keep on walking towards it. You can't do anything about it. Just something which is a given. I mean, I don't like the idea of like waking up by an alarm, or like if I'm playing, I don't want to play from X to Y. If I'm reading, I don't want to say, yeah, I only read for 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Or to just get absorbed in it and read
Hmm.
until whenever I want to. Because it's just so strange, right? You find yourself being born and you sort
Hmm.
of are pushed forward in time automatically. You can't do much about it. Like even
Hmm.
if you're sitting still, you're moving in time. And of course, when I'm at work, then things run as per
Yeah.
calendar. But outside of work, yeah, I don't like myself reminding.
So you have no watches in house.
No, not a single
Okay.
one. Because every single moment is just super precious. When we sort of say I'll do X by Y time, it just suddenly discounts the importance of the current moment, which can perhaps be your last moment, right? Your life start to life end, that's what time is, right? Who cares what happens, or even if the world exists after you're dead? For all practical purposes,
There is some old Hindi movie I seen of Raj Kapoor where he says, "जब तक जिंदा है तब तक जिंदा है, जब मरे तो हम ही नहीं है."
yeah,
तो,
yeah, exactly that.
right?
Yeah, yeah.